sports fans, Coach Nick here, and welcome to B-Ball Breakdown. Don't miss our halftime and post-game show coming up after Game 5, the game that will decide the series in my mind. Well, let's talk about Game 4. It was a little bit weird. You had guys like Splitter starting out on Dwyane Wade and then not playing very much. Chris Anderson, Birdman, didn't get in there at all. And so then you had a lot of turnovers by the Spurs, which we'll focus on, and they finally got some outside shooting from certainly LeBron, and Dwyane Wade was also better than he had been in the whole playoffs. You can almost tell Splitter was going to have an off night when he opens the game wasting possession with an unforced backcourt violation. The Spurs break into 25 up, where they screen the ball screener first. This works wonders opening up seams in the Heat's over-aggressive defense. However, Splitter brings the ball down below his waist and Wade gets the strip. This leads to a run out and helped get LeBron untracked with this easy layup. On a simple screen and roll with Ginobili, Splitter does a nice job getting open on the roll but cannot make the simple pass to the corner, and this leads to yet another Miami fast break where they make the extra pass for a Ray Allen 3 that began the process of ending this game. On another roll, the Spurs have a corner 3 set up with Diaw back screening for Kawhi Leonard, but Splitter leaves his feet to make a pass and gets tied up. On the jump ball, Splitter does tap it to Duncan, and he should have corralled this ball. Instead, it counts as a turnover, clearly unforced. The Spurs' offensive strategy is very sound since getting the ball to the roll man produces great shots, but Splitter hasn't made good decisions. His Game 3 block dunk should have been a nice high layup, and here he should find Gary Neal wide open in the corner. This triggers another Heat fast break, and the Spurs don't have time to get organized and pick up their men, getting Haslam a layup. The Spurs had good spacing and ball movement, but the Heat were able to stop the finish with great athletic ability. You can't fault the system, just the final execution. And it continued to cost the Spurs as Ray Allen gets 2 free throws. Let's look at Manu Ginobili, who's been downright awful in this series so far. He has the worst net rating of any Spur by far, and at this point should abandon shooting from behind the arc. On his very first defensive possession, he instantly loses Dwyane Wade and allows him a backdoor layup. He still continues to struggle with his passing accuracy as he throws this pass too high and a little bit behind Duncan, which certainly didn't help Duncan on this travel call. Defensively, he gets a little bit lost when his man goes to the weak side and allows Ray Allen, someone who isn't that effective going to the basket these days, an easy bank shot. The Spurs run their basic offensive set, which is flex, as Manu cross screens for Bonner, then gets a down screen from Splitter. Instead of attacking with plenty of time on the shot clock, he clanks yet another three-pointer off the rim. He didn't do himself any favors by getting his arms up while fighting through the screen, an offensive foul, and more importantly, an unforced turnover. The bottom line, he just seems completely out of sync. He switches pivot feet on this drive, watch how he establishes his left foot as the pivot, then steps with that foot. He then gets the kick out and jacks up a contested 3 with 10 seconds on the shot clock. Can you hear me shaking my head? And to top it off, he just tosses this ball away, trying to force it into a well-guarded Tim Duncan on the post. Wow. One of the biggest keys to Game 4 were the Spurs' turnovers. Much has been made of the Heat's pressure, and in certain circumstances we'll show you this was the case. However, only 7 of their 18 turnovers were forced by the defense. A good example of the Heat defense taking the Spurs out of their normal rhythm is this possession in the second. Neal has his pass deflected, and then when Tony Parker and Tim Duncan execute a screen and roll to the middle of the floor, watch how early Wade rotates to pick up the pass and steal it. This is an either-or possession. If Wade does not get the steal, it's a layup for Kawhi Leonard. But the Heat race down and Wade gets LeBron another easy basket. The Spurs continue to make the Heat scramble in their defense, and LeBron makes Gary Neal pay for leaving his feet with this beautiful steal. And these turnovers were simply devastating, as the Heat come down the court quickly, and the Spurs do a terrible job picking up Chalmers and give up a wide open corner 3. And as we said earlier, the majority of the Spurs' turnovers were unforced. This offensive call on a Bosch flop was awful, particularly because the referee had no angle to see anything. And the Spurs kept throwing away good opportunities to get wide open shots like this no-look pass by Tony Parker. Here's an example of a lot of contact on a drive by Parker that wasn't called and turned into a jump ball. Notice how it appears Tim Duncan is the first to get two hands on the ball, yet the referee chooses Parker to jump against Cole. And when the Spurs lose the jump ball, this is marked as a turnover. This then allows the Heat to run a nice elbow screen quickly for Dwyane Wade, who gets right to the rim, feeds Bosh, who puts in the layup. The other big key to this game was the shooting of LeBron James and Dwyane Wade, who have both struggled mightily until Game 4. Wade still had trouble from the outside, but hit 9 of 12 shots in the lane. The Spurs can handle LeBron doing this kind of damage, but not both of these guys. Wade attacked early and didn't settle for the mid-range when Green sagged off of him, getting right to the rim. And it was a welcome relief to see the Heat attack with LeBron James in the low post right away. The Spurs have decided to help off Chalmers, and he somehow squirts the ball to Wade for a long two. And the Spurs are sticking to their game plan to dare Wade to make some isolated outside shots. The Heat tried to get him on track by running a double ball screen out of Horns, and you can bet the Spurs will be okay with him taking these shots no matter what the outcome. LeBron is a different story, and while Bonner is simply executing their game plan, they're going to have to close the gap a little bit better if they want a shot at winning. I think all those early easy baskets help LeBron get confidence. When they run 5 out here and kick it to him, he hits the kind of shot he had been bricking. And look at this! Bosh is in the low post! He kicks it out to LeBron, who doesn't seem to want to take it, but does nail a little icing on the cake. So here's the deal. You can never really be sure how a guy is going to shoot the ball. Now, I will say that Gary Neal and Danny Green are continuing to shoot the ball well because they're getting like really wide open looks. However, what we've seen so far of Dwyane Wade and LeBron James has been iffy, so it's not really clear you want to rely on the fact that they're going to just start naturally hitting all those 18 to 20 footers. However, the one thing I think you can say for Game 5, particularly because it's at home, is that the Spurs will not turn the ball over unforced 11 times again. I would be shocked if they did that. And so you have to imagine if they were to cut down on half of those 11 unforced turnovers, this game is a lot different, even though LeBron James and Dwyane Wade were going off. So they can survive a little bit of that as long as they don't turn the ball over. And so we'll have to see. That's going to be the only key in my mind for Game 5. And because it's at home, I think it's really big for the Spurs. And they have a chance to take that, and I think they're going to win the series if they win Game 5. Even though they're going back to Miami, they'll have a 3-2 lead. Well, let's see if my No Strip Ballis will continue being accurate as it's been for a while. And don't forget to join us at the halftime and postgame show coming up during Game 5. And don't forget at B-Ball Breakdown, we're not a channel, we're a conversation. You in?